When the lights go out, when store shelves empty and when technology fails, what's left are the skills and habits that kept our ancestors alive. Today there's a growing hunger to reclaim those forgotten ways, methods of living that required no grid, no supermarkets and no disposable culture. And one of the richest time periods to look back on is the Victorian era. It was a time of rapid industrial progress, yes, but it was also an age where ordinary families, whether in city tenements, countryside cottages or sprawling estates, relied heavily on self-sufficiency to survive. The Victorians lived in a fascinating balance between tradition and innovation. They lacked the conveniences we take for granted today: refrigerators, electric stoves, indoor plumbing for many homes, yet they thrived through a combination of ingenuity, discipline and resourcefulness. These practices were not optional. They were the difference between thriving and starving, between comfort and hardship. And for modern survivalists, homesteaders or anyone questioning the fragility of today's supply chains, their methods are more than quaint history. They are blueprints we can use right now. Let's unearth these Victorian self-sufficiency secrets and explore how they can strengthen our resilience today. The lost art of Victorian homesteading was built on necessity, not choice. The Victorian household was a machine of efficiency. Every member of the family, from the youngest child to the elderly, had roles that contributed to survival. In rural areas, families managed gardens, livestock and orchards, not as hobbies but as lifelines. In urban settings, people found ways to stretch every resource, from growing herbs in windowsills to bartering goods and services within their neighbourhoods. Homesteading, as we call it today, was not a trendy movement but a matter of survival. Many Victorian families couldn't simply buy more if something ran out. They had to prepare, preserve and manage resources with foresight. This mindset, of treating waste as failure and foresight as security, shaped an entire culture of resilience. For anyone today who is turning back towards self-reliance, the Victorians offer lessons in mindset as much as method. Their success was not just in the tools they used, but in the discipline with which they approached life. One of the great challenges of the Victorian kitchen was storing food safely without refrigeration. Canning existed, but it was expensive and not yet widespread among poorer households. Instead, families used ingenious preservation methods that extended the life of harvests and honestly ensured survival through those harsh winters. Root cellaring was a cornerstone. Families dug cool, underground spaces, often lined with stone, to store root vegetables, cabbages and apples for months on end. Dry salting was another essential method, layering meat or fish with salt to draw out moisture and prevent spoilage. Smokehouses were common in rural areas, allowing proteins to last year-round. Fermentation, too, was a powerful tool. Vegetables became sauerkraut, milk became kefir or cheese, and grains became ale or vinegar. These processes not only preserved food but also supported gut health and, provided vital nutrients. What stands out about Victorian food preservation is that it used natural processes, requiring no electricity, little equipment and resources that really anyone could access. Modern homesteaders can draw from these same traditions to reduce dependency on freezers or supply chains. Victorian households were masters of closed-loop systems long before sustainability became a buzzword. Gardens were fertilized with composted waste, animal manure and ash from wood stoves. Nothing was discarded if it could be repurposed. Food scraps became feed for chickens or pigs, worn clothing was patched into quilts, and broken tools were mended rather than replaced. Water management was also critical. Many households collected rainwater in barrels and cisterns, using it for washing, cleaning and sometimes even drinking, once filtered through sand or charcoal. Simple yet effective methods kept families supplied without reliance on centralized systems. For pest control, Victorians turned to natural deterrents: herbs planted around gardens, lime washes for walls and coops, and careful crop rotation to keep soils fertile and balanced. This principle of waste not, want not was, well, a daily practice. Every scrap of material had potential value. For modern survivalists, adopting even part of this mindset reduces dependence on fragile systems and, restores a sense of control over the essentials of life. Long before electricity reached homes, Victorians mastered ways to manage comfort and household needs without a grid. Homes were designed with passive heating and cooling in mind. Thick stone walls, high ceilings, and strategic window placement allowed for warmth retention in winter and ventilation in summer. Fireplaces and wood stoves were central, not just for heat but for cooking, water heating, and drying clothes. Victorian households also relied on homemade products that many of us now buy. Soap was crafted from animal fat and lye, candles were poured from tallow or beeswax, and cleaning products came from natural ingredients like vinegar, soda, or ash. Textile repair was another cornerstone skill. Clothing was patched, darned, and mended multiple times before it was ever discarded. These crafts weren't, just hobbies. They were survival skills. They gave families independence from markets and allowed them to function with what they had at hand. In today's world, where so much is disposable, reclaiming even a fraction of these skills provides both economic and survival benefits. So how can we apply Victorian self-sufficiency in 2025? It's not about recreating their lives entirely, but about integrating their principles into our own. Building a root cellar or practicing fermentation reduces dependence on fragile supply chains. Setting up rainwater collection offers independence when systems fail. Learning soap making, sewing, or candle making ensures that essential needs can be met even without stores. The benefits go beyond survival. Studies show that self-sufficient practices reduce stress, build confidence, and restore a sense of connection to the natural world. Victorians lived slower lives in some ways, but their knowledge of resilience gave them an edge that many of us today have lost. Reclaiming those habits offers both practical security and a stronger sense of self-reliance. The first step is simple. Choose one Victorian principle to integrate into your life today. Maybe it's learning fermentation, setting up a small rain barrel, or mending instead of discarding. One habit becomes two, and before long, you'll find yourself living with the same resilience that defined an era. Victorian self-sufficiency was not a choice, it was a necessity. But in reviving these methods today, we can choose resilience over dependence, preparedness over fragility, and discipline over waste. Their secrets remain waiting, not locked away in books, but alive in the soil, the kitchen, and the household crafts that built their world. If you found value in unearthing these forgotten skills and want to dive deeper into the survival wisdom of history, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning. Share this with fellow history enthusiasts and survival-minded friends. Together, we can keep these lessons alive and ensure they're never forgotten again.